Look at this. Your vegetable garden doesn't have to be thirsty, struggling, or disappointing year after year. Today, I'm revealing a simple watering method that can triple your growth, or even more. No fancy tools, no expensive gadgets. Just smart, time-tested water wisdom that even your grandparents would nod at. With this trick, your plants stay hydrated, healthy, and bursting with life, while you spend less time worrying and more time enjoying the garden you've always dreamed of. Why most gardens struggle? I still remember the summer I first realized my garden was struggling, and it had nothing to do with my love for it. Every morning, I'd grab my watering can, diligently pour water over each plant, and walk away feeling proud. Yet by mid-afternoon, the leaves were drooping, the soil seemed dry on top, and my tomatoes looked sadder than the day before. I couldn't understand it. Wasn't I doing everything right? Here's the truth. Watering every day isn't always the answer. In fact, it can sometimes do more harm than good. Overwatering or watering at the wrong time can suffocate the roots, wash away essential nutrients, and leave your plants vulnerable to disease. I learned the hard way that plants don't need constant attention. They need smart attention. Timing is everything. Early mornings or late evenings are perfect because the water has a chance to soak deep before the sun evaporates it. Pour too late in the day, and your plants sit in damp soil overnight, inviting rot and pests. Give too much at once, and the roots can drown or become shallow, stretching toward the surface in search of oxygen. It made me think about how often we try to force growth, whether in gardens or in life, without understanding the real needs beneath the surface. There's something comforting about the wisdom of our grandparents here. Back in the day, gardeners didn't chase the newest gadgets or pour water like it was a magic cure. They observed, listened, and gave plants exactly what they needed, not what they thought the plants wanted. They knew that a little patience, careful attention, and respect for natural rhythms produced stronger, healthier gardens that lasted. I started testing a different approach. Instead of rushing to water every day, I let the soil tell me when it was thirsty. I watered deeply but less often, and I watched as roots grew stronger. Leaves stayed vibrant, and my harvest improved. I realized that struggling gardens aren't a sign of failure. They're a sign that we're missing one key element: understanding. The lesson here is simple, but it can change everything. Plants, like people, thrive when they get what they truly need, not what we assume they want. In the next chapter, I'll show you a clever watering method that honors this principle, keeps your plants hydrated, and can even triple your growth without expensive tools or guesswork. The one watering trick that works. If there's one lesson my garden has taught me, it's this: less is often more, at least when it comes to watering. After years of watching leaves droop and soil dry out despite my hard work, I discovered a single trick that changed everything. It's simple, yet so powerful. Water deeply, but infrequently. Here's why it works. When water is delivered slowly and allowed to soak in, roots have no choice but to grow deeper in search of moisture. Shallow roots, on the other hand, are weak and stressed. They can't support healthy leaves or produce large, juicy vegetables. Deep roots anchor the plant, giving it strength to survive heat, pests, and even short periods of drought. And the reward? Bigger harvests, healthier plants, and a garden that practically takes care of itself. The method couldn't be simpler. Instead of watering every day, aim for 2 to 3 deep watering sessions per week. The exact number depends on your soil type, the weather, and what you're growing. Sandy soils may need a bit more frequent watering, while clay soils hold moisture longer. The key is to let the soil dry slightly between watering, encouraging roots to grow downwards rather than stay at the surface. Timing is just as important. The early morning or late evening is the best window, when the sun is low and evaporation is minimal. Water during the heat of the day, and most of it vanishes into thin air before the roots can drink it in. By watering when it counts, you're not just helping your plants, you're conserving water, lowering costs, and making your garden more sustainable. It's frugal gardening at its finest: a small effort, maximum return. There's something satisfying about watching this work in practice. I remember one summer, I decided to test this method on a single tomato bed. Just by switching from daily light watering to deep, measured sessions, I saw the difference within 2 weeks. Leaves were greener, stems stronger, and the first fruits were larger than any I'd ever grown. The other beds, still watered daily like I used to, struggled in comparison. This approach is more than a trick, it's a shift in thinking. It's about trusting the plant, respecting its needs, and working smarter, not harder. It's the kind of wisdom gardeners have followed for generations. Observe, understand, and respond with care, rather than reacting out of habit or fear. By watering this way, you're giving your plants the freedom to grow naturally, while also saving time, effort, and resources. So, if you've been pouring water every day and wondering why your harvest isn't thriving, try this. Water deeply, less often, and at the right time of day. Let your roots grow strong, your vegetables flourish, and your garden reward you with more than just leaves. It will give you confidence, satisfaction, and a bounty that makes all the hard work worth it. Pairing water with nutrients. By now, you've seen the power of deep, thoughtful watering. But here's something many gardeners overlook. Water alone won't make your garden thrive. Think of it this way. Water without nutrients is like a meal without flavor. It quenches thirst, but doesn't give the body what it really needs to grow strong and healthy. The same goes for your plants. That's where nutrient-rich water comes in. Pairing water with the right nourishment transforms thirsty soil into a thriving ecosystem. And the best part? You don't need fancy chemical fertilizers or expensive treatments. Some of the simplest, most effective options have been used by gardeners for generations. The kind of wisdom your grandparents might have passed down quietly while tending their own plots. One of my favorites is rainwater, collected from barrels, rooftops, or gutters. It's gentle, chlorine-free, and packed with naturally balanced minerals. Plants love it because it mimics the natural environment they evolved in. Pour it slowly into the soil during your deep watering sessions, and you're giving your roots the hydration they need without stress or harsh chemicals. Next, consider a light touch of organic fertilizer dissolved in water. Even a small amount, like a handful of compost tea, fish emulsion, or aged manure, can provide essential building blocks for your crops. Think of it as giving your vegetables a multivitamin. The soil absorbs it, roots drink it, and before long, your plants reward you with greener leaves, sturdier stems, and tastier fruits. The key is moderation. Too much, and you risk burning your crops or disrupting the soil. Some gardeners even swear by natural kitchen additions, like diluted coconut water or leftover vegetable scraps steeped in water. Not only does this feed the plants, but it keeps organic matter out of the landfill. A win for both your garden and the planet. All of this ties beautifully to a timeless truth. Nourish the soil, and the plants will flourish. Just like feeding a family well makes them strong and healthy. Every handful of nutrient-rich water you give to your vegetables is like the care you put into a hearty, home-cooked meal. You can see the difference in the leaves that stretch toward the sun, the fruit that swells on the vine, and the sense of pride that fills you when the garden thrives. I remember visiting an older gardener years ago who had a tiny, but remarkably productive, vegetable patch. She told me, "I never rush. I water deeply, I feed the soil naturally, and I let the plants tell me what they need. The garden gives back what I give it. No more, no less." Watching her tomatoes, peppers, and beans grow lush and full, I realized that gardening isn't about shortcuts. It's about care, timing, and thoughtful nourishment. Which vegetables love this method? Now that we've covered deep watering and pairing it with gentle, natural nutrients, the next question is, which vegetables actually love this method? The good news is, most of the garden favorites we all cherish respond beautifully. Think tomatoes, peppers, beans, and leafy greens like kale, spinach, and lettuce. These crops thrive when roots can grow deep and access consistent moisture, and the right nutrients help them produce strong stems, vibrant leaves, and abundant fruit. Let me share a story. Last season, I decided to experiment with this method on my tomato patch. I'd always struggled to get big yields. I'd water lightly every day, thinking that constant attention was the secret. But the plants never seemed satisfied. Leaves would yellow, fruit stayed small, and I'd end up frustrated. Then I switched things up, deep watering twice a week in the early morning, combined with a light nutrient infusion using rainwater and a bit of compost tea. Within a few weeks, the difference was remarkable. My tomatoes grew taller, leaves fuller, and the first clusters of fruit swelled larger than I had ever seen. By the end of the season, the harvest was so abundant I had enough to share with neighbors, and still plenty left for my own kitchen. That's the magic of giving roots what they really need. The same principle works for peppers. They love deep hydration and nutrient-rich soil. Beans. They're surprisingly forgiving. But deep watering encourages their roots to dig in, making plants sturdier and less likely to flop over. Leafy greens. They do enjoy consistent moisture, especially as they get close to harvest. But even for them, infrequent deep watering beats constant light watering. It strengthens the roots and improves resilience to heat. Here's a quick tip for tailoring this method. Some plants, especially as they near harvest, do benefit from slightly more frequent moist soil. Tomatoes and peppers, for instance, will produce juicier fruit if the soil stays evenly moist during flowering and fruiting. Leafy greens, on the other hand, appreciate a little extra water when it's hot, but still benefit from deep, infrequent sessions to encourage root growth. The key is observation. Watch your plants, feel the soil, and adjust. Gardens, like people, have personalities, and they respond when we listen. Another tip that older gardeners love is grouping plants with similar water needs together. This way, you can water deeply in one zone without overwatering others. It's efficient, frugal, and keeps your plants happier. The takeaway is simple. This method works for almost any common garden vegetable, but the beauty is in adjusting it to each plant's needs. By combining deep watering with nutrient-rich soil, you're giving your crops the best chance to thrive. You'll see stronger plants, larger yields, and healthier vegetables that taste better than anything you've bought at the store. Signs your plants are thriving. After weeks of deep watering, nutrient-rich infusions, and careful observation, you'll start noticing something wonderful. Your garden begins to show signs of thriving. And these signs are often subtle, so it's important to know what to look for. First, dark green leaves are a strong indicator that your plants are healthy. Not a pale, yellowish green, but deep, rich, vibrant foliage. This shows that roots are reaching deep, drawing up the water and nutrients they need. When leaves are strong and glossy, it's a sign your plants are getting exactly what they need from the soil, and that your watering method is working. Next, pay attention to stems and branches. Healthy plants have sturdy, upright stems that can support leaves, flowers, and fruit without flopping over. Weak or spindly stems can indicate that roots are shallow or stressed, often from overwatering or inconsistent moisture. Deep watering helps roots anchor firmly, giving stems the strength they need to support a bountiful harvest. Another exciting sign: new buds and blossoms. When flowers start to appear, it means your plants have the energy and nutrients to reproduce and eventually produce the fruits and vegetables you're growing for the table. This is where all your careful care starts paying off in visible rewards. Of course, gardening is as much an art as it is a science. Even with the perfect watering schedule, you'll need to read your plants and adjust as necessary. For example, a plant wilting in the midday sun may just be protecting itself from heat. It doesn't always need water. In contrast, if leaves are drooping overnight, that could indicate the soil is too dry or too wet, signaling a need to tweak your routine. Observing patterns, checking the soil, and listening to your plants are all part of the process. Gentle reassurance is key. Gardening is never perfect, and every season will teach you something new. Even experienced gardeners encounter unexpected challenges: storms, heat waves, pests. The important thing is that you're paying attention, learning, and responding thoughtfully. Your plants thrive not because you followed a rigid formula, but because you cared, observed, and adjusted with patience and love. I remember one season when my beans seemed weak, despite careful watering. At first, I panicked, but instead of overwatering, I stepped back and observed. I noticed that the soil near the surface was dry, but deeper down it was still moist from earlier watering. I adjusted slightly, giving less frequent, deeper watering, and within days the beans perked up, sending out new shoots and blossoms. That season taught me a valuable lesson. Success comes from listening to your garden, not forcing it. So, as you care for your vegetables, look for these signs: vibrant leaves, strong stems, and new buds. Watch your plants, learn their patterns, and celebrate their small victories along the way. By now, you've learned about deep watering, pairing nutrients with hydration, and reading your plant's signals. But as gardeners, especially, Those of us who have been tending soil for decades, there's one overarching principle that can transform not just your garden, but your whole gardening experience. Keep it simple. Gardening isn't a race, and it's not about doing more every single day. Patience is the real secret. Great gardens take time, attention, and thoughtful care, not endless watering or constant fussing. I remember my grandmother tending her vegetable patch with a quiet, steady routine. She never rushed, never fretted over every droplet of water. Yet her plants thrived, producing lush greens, plump tomatoes, and peppers so sweet you could taste the sun in every bite. This method we've discussed, deep, infrequent watering paired with natural nutrition, is about working smarter, not harder. It's about trusting your plants, observing their needs, and giving them the conditions to grow strong and resilient. When you water with intention, feed the soil gently, and allow roots to reach deep, you'll notice something remarkable. Your plants will reward you, and your effort will feel lighter. Another lesson from senior gardening wisdom is the value of frugality. Water is precious, and conserving it doesn't just save money. It helps your garden thrive naturally. By watering deeply and at the right time of day, you reduce evaporation, prevent waste, and encourage roots to grow where they matter most. The result? A stronger garden, a bigger harvest, and fewer resources used. It's a gentle reminder that sometimes nature's simplest solutions are also the most effective. Simplicity also helps your enjoyment. Gardening can be stressful when we try to overcomplicate it, measuring every ounce of water or fretting over every leaf. Instead, follow the core principles: water deeply, nourish naturally, observe your plants, and give them the time to flourish. Celebrate small victories, like the first cluster of tomatoes, the vibrant green of leafy kale, or a pepper that turns bright red under the sun. These moments remind you why we garden in the first place: for joy, connection, and nourishment. Remember, this isn't about constant action. It's about quality growth, both for the plants and for the gardener. Each deep watering, each gentle feeding, each moment spent observing the garden is an investment in a healthier, more productive patch that will reward you for years to come. So, take a step back, breathe, and embrace the simplicity of gardening. Trust in your routine, honor your plant's needs, and celebrate the frugal, thoughtful approach that generations of gardeners have known. Your garden doesn't need complicated systems or endless toil. It needs patience, care, and a steady hand. As we bring this gardening journey to a close, take a moment to look at your garden and think about how far you've come. From learning the secret of deep, thoughtful watering, to pairing water with gentle, natural nutrients, to reading the signs of thriving plants, you've now got a toolkit rooted in wisdom, patience, and common sense. These are the same principles that grandparents and experienced gardeners have relied on for generations, and they still work today. That's the beauty of old-school gardening wisdom. It's timeless, practical, and surprisingly effective. If this guide has helped your garden grow bigger, stronger, and healthier, now is the time to share that joy with others. Hit the like button to let us know you're applying these techniques. Comment below your favorite vegetable, whether it's plump, juicy tomatoes, vibrant peppers, or leafy greens that brighten your plate. Sharing your favorites helps build a sense of connection among gardeners who understand the satisfaction of tending soil with care. And here's a thought: why keep this wisdom to yourself? Share this video with a fellow gardener, a friend, neighbor, or family member who might benefit from these tried and true methods. Gardening is about community just as much as it's about growth. When we share tips, tricks, and stories, we're cultivating more than plants. We're cultivating knowledge, confidence, and connection. Imagine the joy of watching a friend's harvest flourish because of something you taught them. That's the real reward of gardening together. Let's not forget the practical joys, too. This method isn't just about producing beautiful vegetables. It's about saving water, reducing waste, and working smarter, not harder. Every deep watering, every gentle nutrient boost, every careful observation is a small investment with visible, satisfying results. When you step back and see tall stems, dark green leaves, and vibrant fruit, there's a quiet pride in knowing that simple actions done consistently have brought your garden to life. And perhaps most importantly, this is a reminder that gardening is as much about patience and love as it is about technique. Each plant teaches us something: resilience, timing, and the rewards of thoughtful care. By embracing this mindset, you're not only growing vegetables, you're nurturing a lifestyle of mindfulness, joy, and frugal practicality that your grandparents would smile at. So let's grow together. Let's share stories, celebrate the harvest, and pass on lessons that make gardens and gardeners stronger, wiser, and more connected. Hit like, comment your favorite vegetable, and share this video with someone who could benefit from these timeless tips. Every action, every share, spreads knowledge, preserves tradition, and strengthens the gardening community we're all a part of.